Nothing makes your stomach drop quite like that moment when you realize your partner isn't telling you the truth, whether it's an outright lie, a carefully omitted detail, or that uneasy feeling that they're sidestepping around something important. Suspecting deception in your relationship is gut-wrenching. And when gaslighting enters the picture, that's when you start questioning not just them, but your own reality. But here's the good news. You're not powerless. You're not crazy. And there are concrete research-backed ways to handle this situation. So today, I'm talking about everything, including types of deception, why people lie, some misconceptions about deception, whether it's possible to rebuild trust, when to walk away, and my 5-step plan for how to deal with deception in your relationship. We're doing it all today. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Abby Medcalf. And I know this is a good one because so many of you have written in about it. It's been talked a bit about on my Patreon community. So I'm here we're gonna jump right in. And I've got a great giveaway for today, a little quiz and assessment. So I'll talk about that when it comes up. So let's start with the truth about lies. Isn't that cute? I know. The truth about lies. So understanding, because you really have to understand deception in relationships, and it's different, again, in romance especially. Deception in relationships really takes many forms, and recognizing the patterns is your first step, to addressing them. So let's talk about the types of deception. So obviously there are outright lies. These are just straightforward falsehoods. Is that a word? Falsehoods? That's a word, right? Yeah, I have a PhD. Pretty sure it's a word. But you know what I mean if it's not. Comment below the video if you're watching on YouTube and let me know if this the falsehood. Yeah, it's a word. Sounds like a word. Okay. So there's outright, lies. Your partner tells you they were at work when they were somewhere else, obviously. Okay. They deny doing something, they did, or they just make up stories out of thin air, just totally made up. Another type of deception is withholding information, and this is lying by omission. I see this a lot. I talk a lot about transparency versus honesty. And, you can be quote unquote honest, right? Someone can say, did you have sex with that woman? And if you didn't actually have what you consider penetrative sex, you can say no, right? But it's not transparent. Transparency is, yeah, but she gave me a blowjob. You know what I mean? Like, that's transparency. Transparency is when you're really, or just, you're late at work because there's it's really because you're afraid of getting fired, but you're not sharing that, right? So your partner's picking up on all of your anxiety and all your worry, and you keep telling them not to worry. Oh, I'm just late at work, because there's some stuff I have to catch up on, and you're not really being transparent. So there's omission here. That's a lie by omission. To me, that's a lie because you don't want to tell your partner, maybe because you're trying to protect them, maybe because you're embarrassed that you might lose your job. I don't know. Usually it's, I think, because you don't want to hear it from them. Sometimes it's protecting yourself, not just them. You don't want to have them all anxious and then you're worried about them, or you don't want them to give you suggestions or whatever. So, but it's omission. It's a big truth that you are withholding information. That's what omission is, withholding information that you have. So deliberately leaving out, important details that would, how do I say this? That would influence your decisions or your perceptions about something, okay? And research shows that many people don't consider this real lying. It's very interesting, but the impact on relationships can be just as damaging as direct deception. I would even argue, I don't have research to support this, but I would argue that it's even more damaging in so many ways because everyone's been there when you knew something was up with your partner and they weren't sharing it and your brain goes wild with what that could be. You can just tell something's off, but they're telling you everything's fine. That's the withholding that I think is one of the most damaging things in relationships. I really do, because it means you don't trust your partner. It means you don't trust them to hold the information well, to listen, to be supportive, to have your back, or whatever that is. Or to not overreact or whatever. There's a breakdown in trust when you're withholding on that level. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what it is. And I always want to repeat, because I always have new listeners, and thank you, that whenever I say the research says all of that, all the links to not every bit of research I read, because trust me, you would spend hours after the podcast looking through all the links. But I try to link like one good study, sometimes two, with whenever I say research says. And you can find that below the video. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you otherwise go to my website, abbymedcalf.com, go to I always write a corresponding blog post for every episode, pretty much. I mean, I would say 99% of the episodes have a corresponding blog post. So you can, if you don't, like if right now, if you don't want to take notes and you want to go, what did she say? Later on, you can just go look it up. And then if you want to go down the rabbit hole like I do and read all the research, be my guest. It's all there for you. Okay. Another kind of lying is evasiveness. So when I should say another kind of deception, because like I said, outright lies is one of the examples of deception. These are all examples of like deception. So evasiveness is when your partner consistently, dodges questions, changes the subject, gives vague answers to direct questions. They're being evasive. It's a subtle form of withholding, and it creates distance and prevents real intimacy, obviously. Gaslighting, of course, is another one. And this, obviously probably the most insidious form of deception. And gaslighting happens when someone manipulates you into questioning your own perception, your own reality, your memory, your sanity. The term comes from a Alfred Hitchcock film. It was in, I don't know, the early 40s, called Gaslight, where a husband deliberately was like dimming the gas lights in the home while insisting to his wife that she was imagining it. It's a really creepy movie if you ever, anyway, want to go there. I did an entire episode on gaslighting. So if you think this is an issue in your relationship, make sure you check that out. Again, I will link to that episode in all the places I just mentioned. Or you can always go to my website, put in a keyword, and it'll come up. And my free download for today is a gaslighting assessment. I spent a lot of time on this one. I think it's really good. It'll help you. I think just sometimes when we're gaslit, that's the whole point. We're questioning our reality. So you sometimes can't even tell if that's what's happening. And this is not like I normed it on, millions of people. This is not some formal, but it's something, I've been doing this 40 years. I can create something that'll give you it's the questions I ask, when I'm have an individual client I'm working with in some way. So you can download that. Again, all the places I just mentioned. And to be completely transparent, whenever you download something from me, you will be put on my Love Bites list, which is just twice a month, you will get my love letter, which is just that. I'm not selling anything. I'm not trying to get you to do something. There's nothing creepy going on. It's just a little letter that I write that I'm hoping to inspire you, help you think differently about something. That's all. That's what it is. And if you don't like it, unsubscribe. It's not a big deal. If you love it and think it's the best thing ever, which a lot of people do, tens of thousands of people do, you can sign up to get it weekly. And that's $19.99 a year. And you'll get it every single week in your inbox. And you also get a free program I have called 5 to Thrive, which is worth $19.99 if you want to go buy that on the website. So I would say it's a pretty good deal. Okay. So why people lie in relationships? Why do they lie? And understanding why your partner might be lying, it doesn't excuse their behavior. I want to be really clear, or might be being deceptive, I should say again, because lying is just one form of deception. But it doesn't excuse it, but it really can help you approach the situation with more clarity and less emotion. And the research points there's like 5 common motivations. Okay. 5 common ones. It's funny. So how I do this, I always write up something first. I have a topic I want to do. I write it up. and then everything I know. And then I go and look at all the research. I go down the rabbit hole. Or sometimes I've seen a piece of research that makes me go, oh, I want to do an episode on this. And sometimes I do the research first, but usually it's the other way. And when I wrote down, I had 3 of these 5, like I wrote down the things I see, the research was backing it up like 1,000%. So number one, absolutely number one, top one, I would say is the biggest by far, is fear of conflict. I think conflict avoidance is the biggest problem in our world right now. I think it's the biggest problem at work, everywhere. I think the advent of social media and, being behind a computer and not being out as much. I think since the pandemic, I feel like this is so big. People have not gotten good at these skills. The generations coming up suck at it. I say with love, love, love. And I don't know why it's so scary to people. It's terrifying to people. So I would say this is a big, big problem on many levels. But a lot of people deceive, tell lies to avoid arguments or confrontations. That's what I see the most. If your partner knows certain topics trigger disagreements, they'll probably lie to keep the peace. That's what I see all the time. They don't want to deal with you. So they justify it in their minds, that and a lot of times people justify it like, well, I'm protecting them. No, you're protecting yourself usually. Get real. Okay. The second thing, second research-backed reason is like a protection of your self-image. Sometimes people don't tell the truth because they're ashamed or embarrassed. They want to maintain a certain image of themselves in your eyes. So they'll deceive for that reason. Avoidance of consequences is another. Your partner might lie to avoid the fallout from their actions, obviously, right? So whether that's your disappointment, your anger, a change in the relationship, you break up with them, you kick them out, whatever. So they might lie for that. A fourth reason is control and power. And this is definitely, I see this occasionally. This is more concerning, obviously. Lies are sometimes used as tools of control. By manipulating information, someone can maintain power in a relationship. That's probably the scariest, obviously. And then the fifth is habit. Habit from past relationship. If your partner learned in previous relationships or in their family of origin that honesty led to punishment, or it led to rejection, they will likely automatically default to deception as a self-protective mechanism. And again, as you can see, you can have some compassion for some of these. It, again, doesn't mean you accept the behavior, doesn't mean you tolerate it. But it's always better when we can understand behavior because we can find compassion and we can come at it differently. We can come at it not so emotional, with our amygdala taking over, but with our prefrontal cortex, our thinking brain, so we can problem solve and move forward. Okay. Now, there's a lot of impact when there's deception in a relationship. And I see 4 main areas impacted when deception is really part of a relationship dynamic, right? The first is obviously erosion of trust, right? Obviously, that's first. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship because when there's no trust, you can't have vulnerability. And if you can't have vulnerability, you can't truly be emotionally intimate or close, okay? So, and when it's repeatedly broken through some form of deception, the entire relationship becomes unstable. And that's just what happens. Number 2 is questioning reality. Obviously, that right? Particularly with gaslighting, you may begin to doubt your own perceptions, your own memories, and that seriously impacts your mental health and your self-confidence, which is a big problem. Number 3 is emotional distance. When you know or suspect your partner is being dishonest, you're going to naturally sort of pull back emotionally to protect yourself. And that's going to create clearly some distance in the relationship. And number 4 is relationship anxiety. When you are living with uncertainty about whether your partner is being truthful, it creates a chronic anxiety because you're constantly scanning for inconsistencies, for red flags. And I want to say this too. What's really fascinating, at least to me, is that studies have shown that deception has negative social consequences, even for the person lying. I know the research shows that people who lie tend to assume that others are lying too. Okay. So think of that. And that's going to hinder their ability to form social connections. If you're, if you're constantly deceiving people, you think everyone's deceptive. So you're not going to be able to really kind of get things, like get close, get information. I have absolutely had people, like, I think of people, for example, I had someone kind of write to me like, I want this download, but I don't want to get on that list. I don't need to be on any lists. I know you're going to try to sell. Like, they wrote me this sort of angry email. And so I was like, my assistant sent it to me, and I said, just send them the thing. Like, it's fine. But I felt bad. I thought, I really did. I thought, first of all, why are you so mad? Like, you want this thing from me. Clearly you're kind of trusting me, but you're so defended that you're like angry at me. You don't even know me. Why are you so angry? And why couldn't you have just gotten the email and deleted it? Like, if you thought I did start to sell you things, which I really don't, but like, let's say you did, but there was like this defensiveness and this attacking, really. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's the first thing I thought. How is this person showing up in the relationships with people closer to them? If this person, me, who doesn't even matter to you, is getting you this upset, and you couldn't even imagine in a million years that I would be doing something out of love or out of my heart, like, couldn't even imagine. That to me is, that made me sad, So anyway, that's what happens. So and I kind of think this person missed out on, maybe they would have been inspired by some of my love letters. Maybe it could have changed their life. I'm not saying I'm that powerful, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe they would have read them and went, oh my gosh, like, these are really great. This is helping me think different this week. I don't know. So the deception that your partner thinks is protecting your relationship may actually being eroding it from both sides. Do you know what I mean? Like, that, I guess that's what I'm trying to, get through. Hopefully that made sense. But yeah, it's so scary to me. It's such a sad, sad thing. Okay. So let's talk about misconceptions about lying, because there's a lot of them. Before we move into the action steps, right? I want to clear up some sort of common misconceptions about deception in relationships. That these are things I say to my clients a lot. Okay, so misconception number one: if they love me, they wouldn't lie to me. And nope, the reality is that people lie in relationships. I hope I just explained, right? For really complex reasons that generally have nothing. It's more to do with their own fear and insecurities than their feelings for you. So I have encountered people, even people who are deeply in love with their partners, they sometimes lie. Or deceive. Misconception number two: once a liar, always a liar. Absolutely not. While habitual lying is concerning, many people can change dishonest behaviors with awareness, with motivation, obviously sometimes professional help. The key really is whether they're willing to acknowledge the problem and work on it. And I will tell you that as a recovering drug addict, I lied all the time. I lied when I didn't have to lie. Anything, I was lying. And it was such a habit, etc. And it's interesting because drug addicts aren't liars. Lying is a symptom of the disease. When you really get healthy, and I don't just mean stopping the drugs, I mean when you get emotionally healthy, when you get some therapy or whatever, right? When you really you get self-aware, all the things I just sort of listed. You get self-awareness, you start to really see yourself in a different light, and you realize that lying you're really into, if anything, rigorous honesty. And so it really shifts, and that symptom, so to speak, goes away. I hope that makes sense. So if you love someone who has a drug addiction and they're still lying all the time and deceptive and all that, they're just, I would say they're dry, not sober. We differentiate that in the program. But I digress. Once a liar, always lie. It's just not true. I've seen many, many people change their lives, and miracles happen. All kinds of things happen. So, but again, there has to be self-awareness. There has to be acknowledgement. There has to be work on it. There has to be, some place where you realize why you were doing it so much, right? Okay. Misconception number three: if I catch them in a lie, the relationship is over. I've heard this. No, again, repeated serious deception obviously can be a deal breaker, but many relationships really can recover from dishonesty if again, if both partners are committed to rebuilding trust, and I've talked about rebuilding trust after deception, I've talked about after betrayal. I will list those. I've talked about just how to build honesty and trust in a relationship, period. I will list all those beautiful episodes for you. If you're looking for like that, I'm going to give you action steps today and things, but I've really given quite a bit before on what trust is. I call it the trust triad. There's 3 things that make up trust, blah, blah, blah. So all that is in previous episodes. I'm not going to spend today on it, but if this is a big issue for you, it's time to make yourself a little playlist of Abby's top hits on this and really spend some time on this. Misconception number 4, I should be able to tell when my partner's lying. How many people have said this to me? The research consistently shows that most people, including professionals, police officers, judges, counselors, doctors, are not significantly better than chance at detecting deception based on behavioral cues alone. So don't blame yourself for not knowing. Okay. I've had so many people just think like, how do I not know? I miss it too. People lie to me. I can often tell, but I know that more times I can't. I'm clear on that. So I can only go with what people tell me. I might have my suspicions or something else, but I go with it. Obviously I confront people if I'm pretty sure they're lying, but, I confront them, right? I speak, I don't like confront them. I speak to them, I say my truth about it, but I'm telling you, don't take that personally. Misconception number 5, little white lies don't matter. And I will tell you that small lies can seem inconsequential, but they can they establish patterns. They establish a slippery slope. And the cumulative effect of even kind of a minor dishonesty can seriously damage trust over time. That's what I've seen. So what to do when you suspect some kind of deception? Let's talk about. This is the practical part, right? What steps can you take when you believe your partner is being dishonest? So I've got a 5-step research-backed action plan. Again, I made sure everything was really couched in the research with what I'm telling you. And again, I came up with my own little steps, and then sure enough, I changed them a little to make sure that the research was really backing it. Okay. Step 1, you've heard me say this before, like check yourself before you wreck yourself, check your own emotional temperature is absolutely step 1 before you confront or speak with your partner. And I would really, again, offer you not to think of it as confronting because that sounds so like antagonistic. Before you speak to them, take time. You got to process your own emotions. Again, the research shows, and I link to all of it in all the places, that conversations about sensitive topics are more productive when you're not in a heightened emotional state, right? Not in a heightened emotional state. So you have to give yourself space to feel your feelings, right? The anger, the hurt, the confusion. They're all valid. It's not about not being valid. So you feel them, right? First, before, not during. Journal or talk to a trusted friend or a therapist to, sort through your thoughts, sort through them first. Consider what you actually know versus what you suspect. Okay. Get clear on that. Clarify what specific behaviors are concerning you. So you get really, really clear. Okay. Really, really clear. I would say don't label them as a lie. You're lying. You're this. I would not go there at all. I think that's never helpful. What do I always say? Do you want to be correct or effective? I would want to be effective in this conversation. So, yelling at someone, being really highly emotional, telling them they're a liar and a piece of shit or whatever is not going to help it's not going to help you. So again, not going to be effective. You're going to walk away feeling crappy. They're going to walk away defensive and angry, and nothing's going to happen. You're not going to hear anything. So nothing's going to change. If anything, they're going to get more entrenched because it becomes a power struggle. And that's what we're trying not to do. Step 2 is to plan the conversation, the how, the when, the where of talking to them, of, really going deep on this potential deception. All that really matters. And again, there's research on difficult conversations. And the research says you should choose a private, neutral space. I often tell people don't do it at home. Certainly don't do it in your bedroom or somewhere. I think it's great if you can be outside your house, eat physically out, just outside, or in a restaurant is hard, right? Because of the people around, but it should be private, but neutral. Select a time when neither of you is stressed or super tired or in a hurry. People having these in their bed at 2 a.m, bad idea. I say with love. Be clear about your intentions. You want understanding, not just to catch them in a lie, right? Think of that. You want understanding. You want truth. You're not, the goal isn't to catch them in the lie. If it is, you better go back to step one. So an example, hey, it's my intention that we both walk away from this conversation feeling seen and heard. It's my intention that we're both transparent. It's my intention that we feel closer after this conversation. Do you see the difference there? And you also want to prepare some specific examples of the behavior that's concerning you, for sure. Be very specific. Don't have 40 examples. Have 1 or 2. Specific, the top ones, those. You also definitely want to use I statements to frame your concerns when you're talking about and I talk about the I feel, when you, and I need, right? I feel confused when you tell me everything's okay, but you're sort of barking at me, but you seem really defensive or angry, or you seem really angry. And I need to know, and I need you to stop taking out your emotions on me and tell me what's really happening, or something like that. You don't want to say, you always lie about, or you never tell the truth. Do you see the difference there? Yeah. Again, correct or effective. It's up to you, but I'd want to be effective. Step 3 is, obviously having the conversation, right? So when you're initiating the conversation, you have to focus on creating a space where honesty feels possible. You're going to have to start with compassion. I want us to have an honest relationship where we both feel safe. Something's been bothering me. I'd like to talk about it. It's my intention that we both like I said, right? It's my intention that we both walk away feeling really heard and seen. It's my intention that we walk away feeling closer. Okay. And you want to present your observations without accusations. And I would practice this. I practice it with clients all the time. We do little role plays all the time. And you should do that, because it's hard not to accuse. I've noticed that when I ask about your evening plans, the details often change, and I'm feeling confused about that. There you go. Something like that, right? You want to ask open-ended questions. Remember, open-ended questions are questions that can't be answered with yes, no, good, or fine. So not, are you lying? Because that's a yes or no, right? Are you lying? Is that the truth? Is not going to help you. That's not an open-ended question. It's a yes or no answer, and they're going to say no, and then you're going to be stuck. So can you help me understand what's happening here? Can you tell me more about, that's my favorite. If you know me, that's my favorite. You really want to do some active listening and pay attention, not just to what they say, but how they say it. Is there defensiveness? Is there guilt? Is there genuine confusion on their side? You want to keep checking in with yourself. There's your mindfulness again. I know. Can I get through an episode without talking about mindfulness? No, because this is what I'm talking about. This is why it's the bedrock of your happy relationships, of your content relationships, of your connected relationships. Because if you're not mindful during this conversation, if you can't, again, check in with yourself and be clear, it's not going to go the way you want. You're not going to be effective on the other side. So you have to keep checking in with yourself and your own gut feelings as they share. Staying mindful throughout the conversation is the key, right? If you have not downloaded my free mindfulness starter kit yet, I'm not exactly sure what you're waiting for. Just download it. This isn't meditation. That's different. Self-awareness, different. Mindfulness is its own thing. Okay? Download it. That's why it's there. There's thousands of those things that go out every month, which I love. Do it. Okay? Do it. And stay focused on the specific issues that you're talking about. Don't bring up past instances of dishonesty. Don't bring up unrelated grievances. Okay. There's a lot of research on effective talk, being effective in talks like this, or in confrontation, if you want to use that word. I really hate that word. And it says that people are more likely to be honest when they don't feel cornered or attacked. That's the bottom line. So do you want to be correct, or do you want to be effective? Do you want to be righteously right? Then you can have whatever kind of conversation you want. You're not going to get anywhere. You already know this. That's why you're listening now. I know you're mad. I know you, but what's underneath your anger? Remember the line I say all the time: anger is the bodyguard of fear. Celeste Ng, famous author, said that, not me, but beautiful. So if you can get in touch with your hurt, with your feeling abandoned, feeling rejected, if you can come from there instead of the anger with your vulnerability, trust me, you're going to have a very, very different conversation. So you got to approach the conversation with those things, with genuine curiosity, right? Rather than accusation. You want to learn something, not prove something, right? I have all these cute little therapeutic jingles, right? But that's true too. You want to go in there learning something that you got to learn. Like, why is this person lying to me? What's really going on? What's underneath this? When you do that, you create the space for truth to happen. Without it, it's not good, because whatever was happening before, they didn't feel like they could be honest with you. So let's get to it. Again, not your fault, but you can create an atmosphere for honesty. You can create space for the truth, because your partner is feeling like they can't. Okay. Step 4 is you're going to need to evaluate now the response, right? Your partner's reaction to being confronted or talked to about their potential dishonesty. I say potential, alleged. It tells you a lot about the health of your relationship and the possibilities for moving forward. I will tell you that. You want to look for acknowledgement and accountability, okay? Because a partner who values honesty will take responsibility for their actions, even if it's really hard. You want to look for defensiveness or deflection, right? If they immediately turn the tables, if they blame you, if they refuse to engage with your concerns, that's a big red flag. If they have gaslighting responses, right, you need to be particularly cautious. If they respond by questioning your perceptions or your sanity, right? If partial truths, right? Sometimes your partner might admit to a smaller lie to cover a bigger one, right? Trust your instincts if an explanation doesn't really fully add up. All of these give you a real sense of the health of your relationship, and that's a biggie here. Okay, this step is really important. Step 5 is you're going to have to make a decision about how to move forward, right? So based on the conversation and your partner's response, you're going to need to make decisions about next steps. And I will tell you, that's especially why you want to make sure you're coming from in a really good place, because then you can be so clear that I don't want you to regret later. I don't want you to be like, oh, I came in so hot. No wonder they were so defensive. Now the topic's an even hotter issue and even more sensitive. Clean your side of the street first before you go into that conversation, so you can walk away knowing you're not crazy, knowing you've done everything you can, knowing you've been compassionate and kind. And now when you get to this step 5, you can really get clear on what your next steps are. If they acknowledge that there was deception, they say, yes, there was deception, now you can discuss why it occurred, but don't say why'd you do that, right? You know better than that. You want to, again, tell me more about this. Talk to me about, why this was hard, or where this came from, or how it started, something like that. You want to establish, obviously, clear expectations about honesty moving forward. I would really consider what specific changes you could make as a couple that would help rebuild trust. Maybe seek professional help through couples therapy, depending on the layer, the level of whatever happened. If they deny any dishonesty or deception, but you remain unconvinced, maybe you got receipts or something else, right? I would say you want to trust your instincts while remaining maybe open to the possibility that you might be misinterpreting something, although depending on your receipts, let's get clear. You want to consider whether you need more information before making decisions. Think about that. Do I need more information, or has this been the fifth time we've talked about this and the fifth time, whatever? I would really reflect on whether this is part of a pattern or if it's an isolated incident. Again, possibly seek individual therapy, and that would be individual to sort through your feelings and your perceptions, right, about what happened and get clearer. I would say if they engage in gaslighting or really manipulative responses, you should recognize this as a serious red flag. I would consider, if it's really bad, and this is only when it's really bad, I would consider documenting the incidences to maintain your grip on reality. If your big problem is that you minimize and allow just all kinds of horrible behavior, and that you're a goldfish and forget things very quickly, I would say that documenting is a good idea. If you remember everything and you just want to keep score and you're just mad, I wouldn't necessarily document, but you know yourself best. So I'm going to leave that to you. You can, if the gaslighting is really bad, I would say to reach out to trusted friends or family to validate your experiences, but I would be very careful with talking about your business everywhere. All right. I say this a lot. I think that it's a big problem when you get 50 different opinions and you tell your whole family. And then let's say you've told your whole family that your partner cheated or lied about something or said they had a job when they didn't or whatever. And now you've allowed this relationship to continue because you guys are working on things. Your family doesn't work on things and your friends in the same way with your partner. So they don't believe it and they're never going to trust them again. And they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that is really nasty energy to have around your relationship. So unless you are positive that you are never going to be with this person again, it's really gossip. And I would tell you, get a therapist, get someone, a clergy member, one person you can talk to and trust. Maybe one trusted friend. But if you really need the validation because the gaslighting is so bad, then you could maybe reach out to a few more people. And obviously you need to consider whether this relationship is healthy for you. So again, that might be therapy or something else. I don't know. I know your next question is rebuilding trust possible, right? If you've confirmed that the deception occurred in your relationship, that's the big question. Can trust be rebuilt? And I will tell you that the answer depends on multiple factors, including, I would say, that the nature of the deception, your partner's willingness to change and to be self-aware, and your capacity to forgive, right? So there's been a lot of research on relationship recovery after there's been some kind of, trust violation. And the research says that it's possible, rebuilding is possible when there's a few factors present. One is that both partners are committed to the process. Both. Rebuilding trust, it just requires a lot of effort from both the person who broke the trust and the person who was hurt. Okay. So it's got to be there. Obviously that the deception ends completely, right? So continued dishonesty, even in small ways, is going to make rebuilding trust really, I would say, impossible. Another factor is that the underlying issues are addressed. Understanding and addressing why the deception occurred, it's really crucial to preventing a reoccurrence of it and for you to be able to build trust again. The research also says that you have to have new patterns of transparency. So in other words, that you establish with your partner new patterns, new habits of being truly transparent, right? So that could include greater access to information, but to me, that doesn't mean checking their phone or something like that. I hate that stuff. To me, it's more about check-ins. It's more about that you are checking in with each other more, that there's more of a connection between the two of you. You're both going to have to practice patience. The research shows that trust really rebuilds gradually, not instantly. So both of you need to be committed to the long game. That has to be there. So I'd say that overall, there are 3 areas to take into consideration when you're wondering if you can heal a relationship after a significant betrayal. I say it's the person who betrayed you. Again, did they apologize? Do they have self-awareness or a new awareness now? What's going to be different moving forward? That's 1. 2 is the state of your relationship before the betrayal, before the deception. Is there, insecure attachment? Is there trauma bonding? What relationship has been co-created, and can you change that? And I have episodes on trauma bonding and attachment, all that stuff. And then the third is who you are in the situation. What work have you done on your own healing? Can you forgive? Can you move forward? Right? Yeah. And these are all, I have an episode called Can You Trust Again? Trust Again After Betrayal, 3 key areas to heal any relationship, where I talk about these 3 things in more detail. And I will say, you do have to know when to walk away. Many relationships can recover from dishonesty for sure, but some situations I think warrant serious consideration about whether the relationship should continue. And I would say to consider ending the relationship, or at least taking a significant break from it if the deception, whatever that is chronic and shows no signs of changing. If your partner refuses to acknowledge the dishonesty, despite, really clear evidence, really, you got the receipts. If gaslighting is a consistent feature of your relationship, I would say that's a problem. If the lies involve sort of fundamental betrayals, ongoing infidelity, hidden addictions, double lives of some kind, right? And then the other reason to walk away is if your mental health is significantly suffering. You're going to have to choose you over a relationship at some point, right? You have to remember, a relationship without basic trust, again, from the research, it causes chronic stress. And the research shows that chronic stress has serious impacts on your physical health, on your mental health. So sometimes walking away is really the healthiest choice. And I wanted to include here ways to protect yourself while you're deciding. So let's say you're not sure. Should I walk away? Should I stay? If you're in that difficult space of trying to determine whether your partner is being honest and whether the relationship can be saved, and I did an entire episode called Is This Relationship Worth Saving? You should definitely listen to. Here are some ways to protect your well-being. Okay. So here are some things you can do. Definitely maintain outside connections. Keep up relationships with friends and family who, again, can provide reality checks, who can provide support. But again, don't discuss your relationship or your partner's deceptions with more than 1 or 2 people. It's very important. Okay. Again, a trusted friend or a therapist. I would say document concerning incidents. If gaslighting is occurring, again, keeping notes can help you sort of maintain your grip on reality and know what's real. For sure, consider individual therapy. A good therapist can provide, objective feedback and support while you're sort of navigating all this. For sure, take care of your basic needs, getting enough sleep, that you're eating well, you're physically active. All of that's going to help maintain your emotional regulation, your emotional resilience, which you really need right now. Definitely set up some internal boundaries. Decide what information you need to share with your partner right now and what you can keep private while you're evaluating the situation, right? Don't make threats, none of that stuff. This is for you. So, and I have if this is a problem for you, if this area, if you're like, oh my God, I need to go deep on this, I have a bundle for today's episode with all, like a masterclass in this to do all the work. If you don't want to go to a therapist, if you don't want to do that, I will list everything in the bundle at the very end. So you can hang on. But I'm going to wrap up right now by saying, suspecting your partner of any kind of deception, it's just painful. But it's definitely a situation you can navigate. You just have to have the right tools, and you have to have self-respect. You have to be there for yourself. So I'm hoping that understanding all these dynamics of dishonesty, will help you recognize the signs of it, but also have compassion, and that you can then approach these conversations really strategically, thoughtfully, mindfully, and make from that, you can really make thoughtful decisions about your next steps. You can move forward. Either you can rebuild the relationship, a more honest relationship, or move forward towards freeing yourself for some healthier connections in the future. Because you got to remember that you can't control your partner's choices around honesty, but you absolutely can control how you respond to those choices. So you want to maintain your commitment to truth and healthy boundaries. You want to ensure that whatever the outcome of this particular relationship, that you remained connected to your own integrity, to your own self-worth. That's what I want for you. All right. That is it for today. Wow. I know I covered a lot of ground because I think this is a really huge topic. Definitely, I'm going to suggest downloading the gaslighting assessment, which you can get in all the places. And now I'm going to go into what the masterclass is and all the things in the bundle, which is $8 if you want to buy it. If you're part of my online One Love Collective community, you get all this depending on the tier that you're in. You're going to get all this. And for those of you still listening, my online community is going to be switching from Patreon to Substack in the summer, and we're going to be having a new price. We're just going to have one tier, one Love Collective. It's going to be one thing for everybody. There's not going to be all the tiers, so you're going to get everything for $9 a month. So just saying. So if you even bought, if there's a podcast episode every week and you buy one bundle a month, that's pretty much, and then you're getting live Q&As with me and early drops of the podcast and no ads on the podcast. You're getting all kinds of other things too, but I digress. So let's talk about what's in this bundle. So if you're in tier 1, which is my inner circle right now, you're going to get a communication pattern tracker. You're going to get a future relationship vision board, like an exercise, and you're going to get a relationship needs assessment. Okay. If you're in tier 2, which is my love accelerator, you're going to get everything in tier 1, plus a body wisdom check-in, a reality check journaling exercise, and a trust inventory worksheet. You can see how this is a major masterclass this month. I'm really proud of everything I created for this. And then if you're in tier 3, which is my VIP Love Lab, you're going to get everything in tiers 1 and 2. Always, and by the way, plus the free download, plus a rebuilding trust action plan, the breaking up with chronic dishonesty letter. It's kind of this letter, this exercise I do with my private clients, which is really helpful, and a values clarification exercise. All of these things are meant to just help you get really clear on what you need, what's important to you, so that you can move forward with knowing, with confidence, with self-respect, with love, with compassion, with all the things. So again, the bundle's $8. You can download it any of the places I just mentioned. And otherwise, if you're already in my One Love Collective, I love having you here. I love that group. I love you. But even if you're not in my One Love Collective, I love you too. You know I do. And always remember that. I hope you have an amazing week. And I'll talk to you real soon. We're getting close to the end of this season 7, my 7th year. My seasons are a year of doing this podcast. So we're getting real near the end. All right. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.